Null zones. Null zones are surreal, nostalgic places of unreality. By many measures, they do not exist. Entering one is a tricky, unpredictable thing, bordering on completely random. But everyone seems to find themselves in at least one or two in their lifetime. Null zones have no overt threats. Native creatures are already a rarity, and hostile ones are almost unheard of. No, what you have to worry about are hazards. Most are obvious common sense stuff, but the absolute biggest one is going out of bounds. Most zones have some method of getting you back on track. Invisible walls, teleportation, or maybe a spatial anomaly to loop you back around. But you cannot rely on these measures. If you do glitch out of bounds, you could get stuck in the zone forever, or just be consumed by the void. So for God's sake, stay on the path and follow instructions. You went too deep. You fell in. You swam alone. Whatever the case, you surface, breathless, in the pools. Climbing out of the water, you feel age and ailment drip from your skin as you wander up the bright stairwell that splits into 3 passageways. Your mind visits them all, but your body can only visit one. Down the heart path, you see your skin toughened and your health bar doubled. Down the feather path, you see yourself moving with a graceful speed you never imagined. Down the sword path, you see your skin hardened and your strength doubled. You make your choice, and the hall morphs into a water slide, inviting you down. At the bottom, you spend no more than a few minutes, or maybe a few hours, swimming in the neon pool before you think you'd better go. Filled with the power of your chosen gift, you stroll confidently through the dark door marked with the aqua exit sign and into the dim lobby lined with vending machines. Each one is filled with a snack or drink with unmistakable packaging but an indecipherable logo. There's a large black and white menu board above the machines, marking each snack not with nutritional information, but simply an ability. Satisfied with your picks, you turn to the windowed, pure white exit. Hesitantly, you open the door and take a slow test step into the bright, featureless void. Then, in an instant, you're suddenly gasping for air as you surface in the real world. Wiping the water from your eyes as you grab onto a floaty you're pretty sure was not there before, you spot your snacks, positioned just so at the poolside. CLARA. One day, CLARA just emerged fully formed from the depths of the great well inside the paint caverns. And while paint-based lifeforms aren't new, CLARA isn't a color slime or an ink monster. She's a full-fledged sentient human being. But it's not just her form that's unique. CLARA is the first and only person to take paint sorcery into the 3rd dimension, manipulating churning masses of color like a waterbender. But her actual magic comes through mimicry. She can generate heat by animating splashes of orange and yellow into a fire. She can cut by sharpening a bucket of gray into a blade. And, given enough paint and focus, she can even grow functional wings. Lastly, CLARA is highly reactive to transformations through power combos, to the point where even an enemy can accidentally trigger one. The Daydream Desert. This section of the Los Angeles desert is the only true example of a permanent null zone. Unlike the others, it can actually be physically pinpointed, it's just the dimensions that don't make sense. Recently, Amelia has been fascinated with the desert, forging its pastel purple sands into mirror shards that reflect a dreamscape version of the world, with occasional glitches. But beyond some potion potential, that's pretty much all it seems to do, though Amelia has not stopped visiting daily. When asked about it on day 3 or so, she said something was wrong with the mirror dimension here. Now, she just kind of stares into weird reddish glass all day and kindly refuses to talk to anybody. But if you ignore Amelia, it's really a very nice place. Inside the zone, you're subject to dream physics. Whether you're flying, moon jumping, or running through molasses, you can never get hurt here. Just make sure you don't stay after sundown. The Rogue Sentinel. This security android started behaving strangely after an encounter with the leader of the Portal Gang during a failed raid on his facility. Maintenance scans show he was not tampered with, but he still abandoned his post the next day. Another example of why giving guardbots sentience is probably not the best idea. For a while, he just kind of roamed the world on foot, relentlessly tracking down anyone with even a scrap of information on the Portal Gang, doing whatever he had to do to get it out of them. And eventually, it paid off. Over the past couple weeks, he's been spotted accompanying several portal thieves on very successful missions, the most recent one being with the leader herself. On this mission, he wasn't wearing his normal face, but a blue smile mask matching the leader's. The Goddess of Summer. Goddess is a big word to be throwing around, so perhaps it's better to think of Summer and her peers as minor gods. Of course, that would imply that there are major gods, which I will not confirm nor deny. Her powers are that of a firebender mixed with a waterbender mixed with some sort of summer-based genie. She can be summoned, usually accidentally, by sacrificing a s'more in a campfire before quickly dousing it with water. The rising mass of smoke and steam will twist together, forming a monstrous, billowing, dual-elemental woman. Then, in a deep, booming voice, she'll announce her summoner's one summer-themed wish. She mellows out a lot after her big entrance, comparably at least. Drifting to the ground, her intangible body condenses into a dripping, smoldering, physical human form. Then, she hangs out with, or at least near, her summoner until the wish is fully granted, which she'll delay doing as much as possible without anyone catching on, because when she's not summoned, she doesn't exist, and she doesn't get summoned too often. The Prophecy. In the depths of the quarry, below the paint caverns, the power crystal mines, and even hell, there's a small, ancient stone room lined with a prophecy. A dark force will contact someone with a red smile, begging for freedom. The smile will help the beast by collecting a lot of something, using it to free the corrupted angel from a flat prison. Naturally, freeing such a beast brings disaster, but someone's there to fight the angel. A purple knight. Then, well, the comprehensibility of the story suffers from being in the medium of cave art. The knight is presumably defeated, but then they take the hand of a previously unseen green and brown person, a girl it looks like. Then it completely breaks down. The wall abruptly becomes absolutely coated in black paint, and over the void is a light blue circle that splits into 2, then 4, then 8, and so on, all connected by a root-like system. A pedestal stands in the center of the old room, and it used to display the Purple Knight's mask. But a few years ago now, the Supernatural Containment and Protection Agency decided they didn't like the mask's unknown energies and strange lifelike readings. Not wanting to risk anyone ever daring to actually put it on, they sealed it into the director's briefcase, fought through the quarry's 50 levels of aggressive security, and left the mask in a facility in Cosmos City where it remains to this day. The Golden Hour. After a long, unforgettable day with friends, the melancholy of goodbye settles in. Wistful eyes turning to the orange sky, you wish you just had a little more time. Then, the very next moment, you watch as the setting sun almost seems to explode, filling the sky and bathing the earth in golden light. Time stretches into the horizon, and your body feels magnitudes lighter as the exhaustion is taken from you. Turning back to face your sun-soaked friends, you suggest doing one last thing. You think there's time after all. Molten CLARA. During an attempted robbery by the Portal Gang, CLARA confronted the thieves. After trading a few quick rounds of attacks, the Portal guys finally got a good critical hit on her. A big mistake. When the flaming whip lashed her chest, CLARA's impressionable body reacted near instantly. Her hair and eyes charred black as her arm and torso cracked open, leaking molten paint from her burning core. It was when she looked up at them, grinning as her eyes ignited, that the portal thieves decided there were better places to rob. The Info Hazard. This man is an extremely uncommon case of somebody not having a power or even a supercharged skill like everyone else. Instead, he has a ritual that only he can perform. By burning a photo or written account of an event or story in front of someone, he can make them completely forget it. Luckily, this does not work virtually, and it weakens the more people he tries to do at once. He can erase someone's memory of a specific person too, but the results are very inconsistent. He has managed to make sure nobody remembers his own face or name though, so it's by no means useless. I'm not being coy by avoiding his name. I can't remember who he is either. Living in suburbia is not without its risks. The Sunblessed. Known in previous eras as Sun Knights, Sun Mages, or even Daymen, the Sunblessed are a rare type of firebender with a little something extra. The Knight class can summon weapons and armor made of a glowing, golden substance somewhere between plasma and metal, and they can heal by engulfing their hand in a pleasantly warm flame of the same color. The Mage class can be much more intricate than most with their firebending, have stronger healing abilities, and can manipulate their plasmic metal into much more than weapons and armor. Regardless of class, they're all much stronger in the summer months. Penny's Diner. Usually just called the Diner, this place is well known for being one of the safest and least unsettling null zones. You just wake up, walk in, and have a hearty, custom meal that boosts your stats. But what we're here to talk about is the diner's optional offering that most people miss. The jukebox in the corner softly playing dated, ambient music is perfectly interactable. On it is a list of 100 songs, some that exist and some that don't. But if you look closely, one of them, labeled under a number relevant to you, is simply titled Your Song. The tune is completely tailored to your tastes, the only catch being that it has to be in the style of an older song, anywhere between 1900 to the mid-2010s. And what's more, once it's done playing, the jukebox will begin to rumble with a gumball machine-esque winding sound before the record of your song rolls out on a little track, offering itself for you to take home. With a full belly and your song in hand, you push through the exit and stroll down the steep hill into the diner's subzone. A long stretch of slightly unkempt suburban road stuck in an odd, pleasantly cool state between night and day. You can linger here for as long as you'd like, but once you walk too far, your memory does a slow, blurry skip, and you'll suddenly find yourself near your home. The Midnight Desert, the flip side of the Daydream Desert. It's cold, silent, and completely barren. You can't fly or moon jump here, and you certainly can't escape. But it's okay, you have the shadow creatures to keep you company. Or maybe just shadow creature. No living person has ever actually fully seen the monster. It corrupts all recording equipment, and eyewitness accounts over the centuries have collectively described it as having essentially every physical trait imaginable. The one thing we can be certain of, though, is that it's getting worse thanks to Amelia. During the desert's transition between day and night, the shards she leaves behind lift into the air and form themselves into an incomplete, jagged mirror. If anything so much as breathes near it, the shards run black, reflecting a dark, ruined city, before dripping, inky tendrils lunge from within the glass to consume the intruder. The gas station. A young woman walks along the pitch-black Gaian road, hood up and headphones on. The thick canopy above blocks out so much moonlight that she sometimes just closes her eyes, and it hardly makes a difference. But as she pushes on, eyes shut, the still air parts for a cool breeze to wash over her, before an orange glow suddenly soaks half her face. Peeking with one eye and then staring with both, the girl finds herself standing in an open, treeless clearing, filled with nothing but an expanse of worn pavement, a couple broken street lamps, and a lone gas station. Lowering her hood and headphones, she cautiously approaches the pumps. Reading one of the glowing labels, it seems to be some sort of enchanted specialty gas. Too bad she didn't bring any wheels. Turning her attention to the little store, the fluorescent lights flicker on under her gaze, and the door clicks unlocked at her touch. The inside is a gas station. One large room filled with snacks, drinks, and cheap little trinkets. But nothing costs money. Instead, the shelves are marked with point values. Before the girl has time to get too confused, she glances up to see a trio of posters behind the front counter. One advising her to read the labels, one warning her against stealing, and one suggesting she watch her points over a picture of a cartoon wrist with a glowing number on it. Pulling back her sleeve, sure enough, it's there. So, she gets shopping. When she's done, she carries her haul to the counter, placing it all on the large scale as directed. The numbers on both her wrist and the register start scrolling wildly, and after a couple seconds of waiting, the girl takes the opportunity to look over her stuff. Some spicy chips that boost her attack when she's angry. An energy drink that increases both her physical and mental speed. Some cinnamon roll bites from the branded counter in the corner that promise bites of luck throughout your life. And an infinite lighter with some alleged flamethrower capabilities. All with 7 points to spare. So, she checks out the little displays by the register to use them up, and something instantly catches her eye. It's a lone, surprisingly high-quality plushie of a little one-eyed eldritch horror guy. She must have it. But of course, it costs 10 points. She's already spent like 30-40 minutes just standing around budgeting. She's not about to start from scratch over a measly 3 points. So, when the register dings, she bags her items, flips up her hood, and tosses the plush on top. The lights run red. The doors lock as gravity weakens, and everything that isn't nailed down drifts toward the ceiling. Pointlessly kicking around in the air, the girl grabs for her retreating items, trying to keep them in the bag. But the plastic dissolves in her fingers as the number on her wrist morphs into a warning sign. From the edges of the rounded triangle, the mark starts spreading its glowing red through her veins. Frantic eyes darting to the exit, her panic subsides a little. All that's between her and freedom is a little glass, the wrong prison to put her in. Pushing off a shelf, she swims to the front window, clumsily shoves her headphones back on, and screams, her supersonic voice shattering every piece of glass in the building. Then, pulling herself outside, she falls to the sidewalk. Thankful for normal gravity, she pushes herself to her feet and sprints for the road. but near instantly, she trips on flat ground just as a sudden force yanks her backward. She stops just short of hitting the pavement and even floats up a little. But when the ground starts shaking and the pavement beneath her crumbles away, the girl's eyes widen in terror. She barely has time to whisper, "Oh, before the exposed void swallows her whole. A woman of debatable age timidly approaches the lone phone booth standing in the wreckage. Not excited to get into the cramped, ominously glowing box, she does a bit of recon first. Behind the booth, a tangled mass of wires runs between it and an old, flickering television, nothing seeming to power either of them. But being made of energy herself, it doesn't bother her too much. Taking a deep, false breath, she decides to just bite the bullet and step inside. Cautiously raising the receiver to her ear, she hears no dial tone, just a low electrical hum. But after a couple seconds, she hears a soft click, and an echoing voice comes through the cheap speaker, saying something along the lines of, "Hello, Glitch. Thank you for coming. I can see that you're uncomfortable, so I won't waste any of your time. The Supernatural Containment and Protection Agency has captured a friend of mine and is keeping her in their Facility 3 in Cosmo City, locked inside a prison hidden in a briefcase. I assure you she's committed no crime. She hasn't been properly conscious for well over a few billion years. Don't worry about the logistics now. I have it all taken care of. I've given the Portal Gang another anonymous tip, and they're launching a full-scale raid tomorrow night. The catch is, they don't know they're helping you, so after they do the hard part, you're going to have to take it. Thank you for listening, and good luck."